Commissary says I better get used to the galleys.
Hello and welcome back to At the Elephants with Rob Morris. I'm very excited to have you listening. It's been a long time. Okay, let's get this out of the way first. I know I didn't do as many episodes over the semester as I thought I would, but I was working on 3 plays at the time. I was doing the Amish Project with Jasmine Stiefel, KGB Honeymoon, a new musical by Noah Reese, and doing a 70-kid version of Seussical Jr. at the Piedmont School in High Point, so it was a busy time. Also had a lot of changes going on in my personal life, and I really just couldn't get around to doing this show, which really broke my heart, to tell you the truth. I thought about it all semester. I thought, I got to get back to that. Because it is very important to me, these conversations and sharing them with you. So hopefully this is the beginning of season 2. I have a number of great guests lined up that are here in Winston-Salem this summer teaching with me or working with me on Take One Step with Peppercorn Children's Theater, which is through the Children's Museum in Winston-Salem. So I'm going to talk about all that a little bit more in a different episode, but I don't want to go on too long. I had a really great conversation with Jacobi Howard, graduated in 2011 in the acting program. He is an excellent actor, playwright, director, teacher, and a wonderful human being. So let's just get right into it. Hi, Jacobi.
Hey, what's going on, Rob? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing really good.
Word.
So I'm available to talk to you because we're working summer session together.
Right on.
We're working the Drama Summer Intensive.
Yeah, DSI 2015.
Exactly.
Right.
And which age group are you working with?
I'm actually working with rising seniors, man. I'm working with, they're all 17, about to be seniors in high school. Last year of I don't know what I would call it, complete freedom until they get into the free world.
Right.
But so, last year, their last year in high school before they move on to their, collegiate endeavors and then it's sink or swim,
So what do you do with them to prepare them for that?
Well, we've had a
leap?
couple of classes, man, that I just talk to them about, okay, are you going to a university? Are you going to a conservatory? Explaining to them that neither one is going to change your path as an actor. If you're a performer, you will always be a performer no matter where you go. I think a lot of them place a lot of stock in, I got to get into this school.
Right.
And it's like, okay, but if that school tells you no, does that mean you're any less of a performer?
Of course not.
Exactly.
And that's a hard lesson because you get your hopes set on a certain experience.
Right.
And you're like, this other person had this path, so as long as I'm following something that's been proven, I'm safe.
Exactly.
But if you're out on your own, making your own path, well, that's a scary thing.
Right, yeah. And I'm glad you said that they have their hopes set on a certain experience versus just having their hopes set on an experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man, it's like, if I don't get into this school, I didn't apply, I don't plan on applying anywhere else. It's like, why? And then my trump card is, you guys know who Sandra Bullock is, right? Yeah. She went to ECU.
Right.
She didn't go to Juilliard. She didn't go to Rutgers. She didn't go to Carnegie Mellon or Boston Conservatory.
And how many actors didn't go anywhere?
And how many actors didn't go anywhere? Robert Downey Jr. didn't go anywhere.
Right.
He moved right out to L.A. and became an actor.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? It's everybody's path is different, man. I think that, like you said, they feel like they're getting into something secure if they go and audition for a conservatory versus just go have a college experience if that's what you want.
Yeah. Whatever. I think the key is you have to figure out what your path is into adulthood.
Right on.
And that could be a bunch of different things. You and I both went to NCSA as older people. I don't know how to say that the right way,
That's the
but
way you
you know
say
what I
it.
mean. We weren't 18 years old when we started,
Right on.
and you were a few years older than I was when I started, but not
Mm-hmm.
by too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's a good place to that's a good segue for us. Like, so I know you're from Charlotte.
Right,
That's
yeah.
about the only thing I really know about your background. I know a
Born
little bit
and
about your
raised,
family.
man. Born and raised in Charlotte. Born and raised in Eastern Charlotte. I'm from the East Side, and
What's the community and culture like on the east side of Charlotte for those that may not be familiar with it?
well, I am. I came up in the Greer Heights community, which is a low income area, uh, and that is pretty much. I mean, I guess if we're giving it a name, if we're giving it a societal label, the projects or the hood or the ghetto, all in quotations,
Right.
versus just it's a low income community, and that's where I came up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When did you get involved with doing stuff like this? Did you start like in grade school, or was it after high school that you got
Oh,
into acting,
yeah,
or when did you start?
man. Well, acting for me, it started in high school. I actually got put in a theater class because I was about to be expelled.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what grade was that?
This was 11th grade.
Okay.
They were going to kick me out. Colonel Harrison, who was the principal then at Independence High School.
Is that a public high school?
Yeah, it's a public high
Your
school.
public high school, you had a colonel?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was
For
a
your
colonel in the
principal?
military. Yeah, absolutely.
Damn.
Absolutely. Colonel
I'm sure
Harrison.
that's a very particular experience.
Yeah. Colonel Harrison, he can play games.
Right.
But I think because he was a man of color, he wanted to try and do his best to help young people of color. Like, I mean, I had a file, man, that was just getting a little too thick.
So what was your thing? What were you in trouble for? What were you doing?
It was just, I mean, little BS stuff, man. The not going to class or the
Right.
or the disruptions and playing into the popularity contest.
General disrespect for the system you were in.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I can relate to that.
Absolutely, man. It was just, and when I was about to be kicked out, he pulled me and he got me into the office and he sat me down and he said, if I may speak freely,
Indeed, you may.
Jacobi, I'm gonna put your ass out of here.
Right.
And I was like, I just kind of looked down. I was ashamed. I didn't really know what to say. He was like, you really you don't care about being here, do you? And I was like, no, sir, I do care, And he said, I feel like maybe you need to be expelled.
Was there a final straw?
I think that what that message was, because by the end of the conversation, he goes, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to change your schedule. I'm going to put you in all advanced courses. You're not going to ever see any of the friends you see now in your classes. I'm going to change your electives. I'm looking at your record. You got bird courses. Bird courses that you just kind of fly through.
Right.
I was taking like drafting.
Right.
And
like hand drafting?
Yeah, like it was like this architecture sort of class.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
No, we
but
take it in DMP.
Right. But
Yeah.
the teacher, Mr. Fox, was like 75. He should have been retired.
Right.
People just showed up to that class.
Right.
And he'd write C minuses on everybody's progress reports. It was a bird course.
Yeah.
That and I had another elective. I had home ec with Miss Hamrick. Like, break a couple of eggs, put it in a bowl, make some bullshit ass cupcakes, call it a day.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just trying to help my already suffering grade point average.
Exactly.
But he changed that schedule, man. He put me in theater. And I actually I had a theater appreciation class as well. He said, I'm gonna put you in the arts. And I was like, he said, since you like to talk, maybe you won't talk in front of some people. You know, I'm like, here we go. You know, but so you know.
So how'd you feel about that? Were you excited about the notion of it, or was it like, oh, he's good, he's trying to embarrass me and it's gonna work?
Right? Yeah. I mean, I looked at it as like social suicide, man.
Right.
You know. I had an opinion about actors.
Sure.
You
what
know,
was it?
That you know that every performer was effeminate and you know sensitive, and you know I had all of these sort of derogatory notions about being a performer.
Sure.
And you know when you're in high school, you don't want to be seen as that.
Of course.
Because like I said, you're playing into the popularity contest.
Yeah.
Versus trying to prepare yourself. You know.
All your friends are gonna call you gay.
Right. And I didn't want that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? No. I don't want nobody to think that about me. And you know, and like I said, and then you realize, you know, 10 years later that none of it matters.
Right.
It doesn't matter what anybody thinks. You know, what people think about you is none of your business.
Right.
You know, and I walked into a profession, and now some of my best friends in the world are gay.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
and you realize that if someone had mistaken you for that's not the biggest insult.
That's not the biggest insult in the world.
Yeah, it's actually.
Gay guys are like the best dressers, bar none.
Yeah, I take it as a compliment every time that mistake is made, which is quite often, I have to say.
Yeah, I got some of my gay friends. They're like the most fashionable people on the planet. I'm like,
you
man.
can't argue with that compliment. Right. Yeah, for sure, and of course you realize that that's not everybody because that's now you're involved in this industry and
it's not everybody, and I made friends who were from similar backgrounds.
Right.
It opened my eyes to a whole other thing. So I'm actually really glad that happened to me. And then I graduated high school. I fell out of it. I didn't go to college immediately. I started working at the YMCA.
Was it a money issue or a desire to go issue? Combination?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know if I wanted to even go to college.
Right.
You know, I kind of bought into college ain't for everybody.
Because high school was such a pain in the ass.
Right, because exactly.
I remember, that's how I felt.
Exactly. College ain't for everybody. I don't go to college. What am I going to go to college for? You know?
Especially when you feel smart.
Yeah.
Because you're like, what can I do in the world full of working people who are dumb? Right?
There you go. Walking out of high school and then walking into a 4-year debt trap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what'd you do?
So like I said, I started working for the YMCA. And I worked in the summer camp. I did the janitorial staff. Like I lived at the YMCA. And that was kind of my thing.
Right. For how long?
For when I turned about 19 up until I was about 22.
Okay. So like 3 years.
Yeah. And during that time period, my little brother passed away when I was 20.
Oh, wow.
And then when I turned 22, just kind of give a fast forward to this story, I had a breakdown at work. I didn't want to clean toilets anymore.
Sure.
I needed to do something else with my life. I wanted to be somewhere else. I wanted to do more things. And, I called my mother and I told my Mom, I can't stand this job. I don't want to be here. Like, I might want to do this for the next... Like, the thought of me coming into that stall and swishing that toilet with the toilet brush and spraying disinfectant, like, until I was 50, it mortified me.
Yeah.
Like, that's... complacency, man, and satisfaction can be death.
I absolutely know what you mean.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, so my mother, we talked about, what my options were. She's like, well, maybe you can go to school for, for art. You took a theater class in high school, maybe you can go for that or go to college and major in that. You enjoyed it. Because I did. I ended up liking it.
Sure.
Fast forward, my mother was taught at a middle school at the time. She's a retired CMS employee. And she got all the information about NCSA from the drama teacher who was teaching there then, Dr. Koch. And man, I applied for NCSA and I had an audition and I got in, man. And ever since then, my life is just not been the same.
So how old were you when you started here?
23.
You were a 23-year-old janitor.
Yeah, I was a 20. Yeah, when I started at NCSA, yep.
That was the switch that you came from. That's
right.
not 18 out of high school.
Right.
It's a very different experience.
Right.
It's very particular, yeah. And it seems to have worked out for you. You mentioned that your brother passed away. Was that a sudden thing? Was he ill? Or?
Oh no, it was a sudden thing, man. My brother died of what they call lethal cardiac arrhythmia.
Okay, break it down for me.
Quite literally, your heart just stops.
Wow. No explanation.
There's no explanation. I mean, reading about it, you wouldn't believe. It affects like 1 out of every 2,000 people, more prominently athletes. It happens to.
Who you think their cardiac system would be more prepared for that?
Absolutely.
Was your brother an athlete?
Yeah, my brother was an athlete. He played football.
Was he good?
Absolutely. He was North Carolina's. He was in the top 3 defensive tackles in North Carolina high school.
Wow.
Yeah, my brother could play.
So how old was he when
he was passed? A senior in high school?
Yeah.
He didn't even make prom. Yeah, yeah, it does, man. It does. And I ended up taking his girlfriend then to the prom.
Right.
Yeah, I took his girlfriend then to the prom.
That's good. It's a powerful motivator.
Oh yeah, man. Absolutely. My brother passing for me absolutely let me know that it puts the whole tomorrow's not promised thing into perspective.
Exactly.
It puts it in
That's
perspective.
The thing for me. You got no guarantees.
There's no guarantees.
Especially when it's so sudden and you have so little information. You know, and if you believe in it, that feels like God keeping a secret from you.
Right.
Like, why?
Wow.
Nothing. You got nothing, especially with your brother just overnight, you know?
I was there when it happened.
Oh, man.
I was there. Yeah, I watched my brother, my family was there, in fact.
It was like during the day? Was it a group?
Yeah, we were playing softball. We played for my church. Yeah, and he was our catcher. He played home plate and went after a loose ball and just boom, fell like a ton of bricks. We thought it might have been heat stroke or something like that, but turned him over, wasn't breathing. It was a mess, man. And his girlfriend was there. My dad worked on him until the ambulance got there. Then the ambulance worked on him all the way to the hospital, and the hospital worked on him for an hour, and then they just called it. They threw, Devin was his name. Devin had threw in the towel, Huh. And I'm not, my faith tells me that I will see my brother again.
Right.
And I count on that. I was reading this article last night about science getting closer and closer to proving that your consciousness and that your energy continues even after death.
If nothing else, I think that's something that I have a blind faith in.
Right.
I don't know where I land on everything. I'm always questioning. I feel like I'm constantly in question.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't feel bad about it. And I also get the vague impression that I existed before I existed.
Right.
In that same way. That the energy was there before and that it will be there after. If I feel like I'm in the middle of something. I don't feel like it's a linear through a tunnel situation. It's like just in the middle. I don't know. And that's just a feeling. It's based on nothing.
Yeah, man. It's like a celestial lottery. You know what I mean? You got these millions and millions of energies and beings who are all just wanting just one shot at being on the planet.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then after that, you go back and you just kind of report what you find.
Huh.
I've always viewed it like that. You know what I mean? Some of us call it...
That's beautiful. I hope so.
Yeah, some of us call it heaven. Some of us call it nirvana. Some of us call it enlightenment or whatever. There are many, many names for it.
Right.
But like I said, I believe in the heaven point of view.
Right.
And I believe that I'll see my brother again whenever I'm done here.
Right.
Doing what Jacobi's been assigned to do. Because I don't believe that anybody's on the planet by coincidence. I believe that if you are here, you are on assignment.
Well, coincidence is overrated.
Listen, I'm telling you, all day long.
I heard that somewhere.
Yeah, it is, man. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. Yeah, man. And so I it was rough on me at first, and I dealt with some things during that time, even before I applied to NCSA. Because, like I said, I was 20.
Right.
I was a couple years older than him. He was senior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And after he had passed, I went through my anger. I went through the isolation and the
Sure.
drinking, and you know what I mean. I was mad.
Yeah.
I was angry.
There's no way to prepare yourself to deal with that.
You can't. I mean, I wasn't doing shit with my life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or so I thought. You know what I mean? And my brother had dreams of going to play college ball and hopefully get into the NFL.
Right.
Like, he had a plan.
Exactly. And what really gets to me is I find that almost always the people that have been taken from my life, not to make it a selfish thing, but the people who've been around me who've been taken so suddenly, they always people with a trajectory, or so it seems.
Right, yeah.
A sincere, intense trajectory towards something they believe in. I mean, a kid when I was 15 was like our class president, and just like dropped, just like you're talking about, almost the exact same thing as your brother, at a Halloween dance party. And he was just on the dance floor having a good time, and his heart was just done. Just done. And it was like, this is the nicest kid in our whole class. Everybody loves him. He's class president. But it was that kid,
right.
Another friend of mine passed away this last winter. She was teaching in Thailand. Had a blood infection. Got her in like 36 hours. And, she had just graduated from Columbia's acting program. She was, teaching kids in another country, just living her life to the fullest in service of other people and art, and just a beautiful soul, the nicest person you ever meet.
Right.
And that's what keeps getting to me every time it happens. It's like, and you don't wish it upon anybody else.
Right.
But it is undeniably a trend that I've observed in my life, where it's like, these are people changing the world for the better.
Right.
Why are they going?
Mm-hmm.
And you see so many other people just being here.
Right.
Or worse.
Right. Not contributing at all.
Right. Or causing detriment.
Right. Exactly. That's rough. And
it's a hard justice to swallow.
It really is, man. It really is. And for a long time I asked myself why, but that was the biggest question for me. Why? And what I came to, Rob, is that why is one of those things that it just unearths more questions. Why is something that we will never really know the answer to? Because even if God, what I call him, even if God were to say to you or tell you why, you still have another question.
Right.
Because you don't understand. You cannot comprehend.
Right.
The way this universe actually works.
You could never see it from the perspective that you need to see it from.
Exactly. So it'll only unearth more questions. So I stopped asking myself why, or asking why, and what I started asking was what now? Okay, so your brother's passed. What now?
Because time's not going to stop for
Time's
you.
not going to stop for me. So what can I do to better push myself forward?
Exactly.
I stopped praying for strength. And I started praying for adjustment. I think that's one of the biggest lessons we can learn, especially in losing someone. Whether it's not, death is the absolute, far extreme of that spectrum. But even if it's something like a breakup,
right?
You know what I mean? Oh, God, give me the strength to get through this breakup. No, God help me adjust to my new circumstances.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that that's key, and I don't think that there's any problem with praying for strength, but
Absolutely.
I do think it's important that you have that specificity of what are you going to do with that strength once you get it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Once you have that empowerment, once you've got that fire that's going to send you on your trajectory, how are you going to guide it? Because you can't just get strength and the problem's going to go away.
Yeah, exactly.
You could be as strong as you want.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing something with it, if you're not exercising that strength, then like, what good is it?
100% agree. 100%
Absolutely.
agree. You can be strong all day long. And like you said, it's not going to make the problem go away.
Right.
You know, it's
That's
not.
absolutely right.
It's adjustment, man. It's adjustment. Help me adjust to this new circumstance. What do I need to do now to propel myself forward?
Right.
You know, that's, I learned that from my dear grandmother. And, you know, she said, baby, you know, strength ain't gonna help you in this time. You know, adjustment will, though.
Right. Do you think that geographically, where we are, being in the American South, we're more resistant to adjustment culturally?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So that's a hard lesson to learn, especially like being from down here. I mean, I grew up in Texas for the most part, and I was fortunate to grow up in Austin, which is
of the
pretty.
Bible Belt.
Yeah, exactly, exactly right. And I've got family from all over the state, but I really grew up in Austin, which is a pretty liberal place. But you encounter a lot of that same culture. That Southern culture is still very much a part of even that city, and in the wake of everything that's happened over the last few weeks, and the response that we've had, we've had a pretty good week in terms, this last week was pretty good in terms of the weeks that preceded it, I think. We got the gay rights, marriage equality, which is amazing. People are taking down Confederate flags all over the place,
right?
Which is amazing. And it's you got to be appreciative, but you also have to pause and be like, seriously, now it's finally happening,
right?
Like, God, what?
Yeah,
but
it's not. You know what, Rob? And this may not be popular opinion, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
Sure.
I'm one of those people that whether the flag comes down or not doesn't matter to me.
Right.
South Carolina can keep that flag up there because change is not going to happen when that flag comes down.
That's true.
Change will happen within the hearts of people who hate when they decide that they want to change their minds.
Right.
True. It's racist wallpaper.
Yeah.
And it represents a very dark part of America's past.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But the government embracing symbols like that sends a sign to the citizens that it represents.
Absolutely.
Of what's, an acceptable part of the culture. And the argument that, like, it's...
Germany hasn't flown or had the swastika up
you can't
since
do
World
that
War
there.
I. You can't do that. But guess what? There are still Nazis who have contempt, or Germans who have contempt for Jews.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, but I think that it's probably less effective, the fact that they've said that the government doesn't support that movement anymore.
Absolutely.
And the truth is that, like, we haven't done that. We still have but at the same time it's like, you say like, oh, well, the representatives of the government in that area can't support those things. Like, well, the notion is that they're representative of the population. Absolutely. So if you have, and I'm not saying that it always is true, because, that's definitely not always the case, that the representative represents the people in that area, but they do get elected, and those votes come from people who have opinions, and maybe they don't come enough from the right people in that area who should be voting, because that's a big problem that we have too.
Absolutely.
And maybe some people can't vote.
Yeah, there are
who want to
in Charleston named after Confederate generals,
And that's what I mean. It's like, and people have made the point already, but the fact that, we have black students going to schools named after people who fought to keep them from being able to read.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And learn and
it's
be
ridiculous.
In that building it sends a fundamental message to the entire community that says we are not going to relinquish our expression of our pride from this era. And unfortunately, that era is a packaged deal with hatred and racism.
Absolutely.
You cannot separate the two. You cannot say
that you have Southern pride and this symbol represents only that. It cannot be that.
No, it can't be that.
It can be that, but it won't come without the other part.
It won't come up to
And if that's a part of it, then come on. What are we even talking about?
No, you're absolutely right. And I feel like if the Confederate flag is so much, because at the end of the day, it is a part of America's history.
Right.
Now, America ain't been this glorious land of opportunists and entrepreneurs to begin with.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's a whole other conversation. I say that to say this, is that put the Confederate flag in a museum.
Yes.
It doesn't have.
It's where it belongs.
It's where it belongs, in a museum, because.
I'm not saying burn them all.
Right, exactly. I'm not saying burn them. I'm not saying no. You can't wear that on a T-shirt,
but to put it on your license
to put it on
plate,
your license plate,
to put it on the flag.
Right, fly it above your Capitol building.
It's the Mississippi state flag. It's part of it.
Right.
You know, that's saying this is Mississippi as a whole right here, and this little corner is part of who we are.
Right.
And do you want it to continue to be? Because you can't expect to be embraced culturally by the rest of this country.
You can't, because we are moving forward.
Right.
We are moving forward. I think that
with or without the people who don't want to come, the rest of us are going.
Yeah. The last week has been evidence of, America's want for progress.
Exactly.
I just, like I said, I know, because I have friends who have, Confederate flags. I worked with an actress who was showing me pictures of her and her family at the beach, and she had on a Confederate flag bikini, and again, the whole thing is heritage, not hate, and that sort of thing. And I'm like, listen, the word hate is in heritage, so being an asshole. But like I said, put it in a museum. If you want to wear it on a T-shirt, fine, but put it in a museum. It doesn't represent the South anymore, because guess who's in the South? Gays are in the South. Interracial marriages are in the South.
That's right.
Blacks and whites working together are in the South. Blacks and whites eating in the same restaurants are in the South. Blacks can read. Blacks are educators. Blacks are business owners. Blacks are young entrepreneurs. There is a new culture of the South. There's more religion in the South. Christianity is not the only religion practiced in the South, in the southeastern part of the United States. Now, it may be one of the larger practicing ones, but that's no longer just it.
Right.
So the Confederate flag doesn't necessarily, or doesn't at all, represent what the South is today.
Right.
100 years ago, the flag could have been flying, fine.
Right.
150 years ago, flags flying, fine.
Right.
It's 2015.
Yeah.
Put it in a museum.
Absolutely.
Put it in a museum.
And that's what, you have to make a cultural move as a society to say that is officially yesterday. And it's been yesterday for 150 years.
Right.
So let it be yesterday, and let's talk about tomorrow.
Right.
Right.
There's actually been talk of, you're probably familiar with the Nation of Islam, Mr. Louis Farrakhan, and there have been, petitions of people from all over the nation are actually beckoning for the American flag to come down. Really? Yeah, they're like, well, the American flag represents slavery and represents oppression and it under the same, under those colors. Because their argument is that, well, this land was stolen from the Native Americans. Yeah. You guys wiped out an entire people to have this land, and then you stuck your flag here. It's symbol of invasion, of genocide. So the American flag should come down too then. This country needs a new flag. That's a whole other. Yeah, that's I need time to process, but I can't say I disagree. Right. It's hard. Logic is sound. Right. It's hard not to listen to that and go, well, damn. Right. Well, and to be fair, we've made quite a few adjustments to the flag in more progressive times. Yeah. The 50-star flag is not that old. Like I said, a new flag, I don't know. I understand the argument, but I'm not sure that it's completely necessary. I mean, that's going to change a lot of things.
Well, yeah, and you can't, it's not like we're going to change the colors of it. Like, we're still a country that was founded for better or worse.
For better, right.
Like, and not all countries have been founded on, like, sound principle of, okay, you take this. Like, no.
And that's the Confederate flag argument.
Right.
That's their argument. The people who...
But that nation no longer exists.
Absolutely. Right.
You know, the Confederate States of America are not,
that's not
a country.
It's not a country, right.
Yeah, and neither is, you know, the socialist movement in Germany, and neither is the USSR. You know, it's like...
Yeah.
Museum,
right. It's all in the museum. That's what museums are for.
Right.
We collect our heritage, we collect our history, we collect, you know, past, present, and after future.
And then you place it there in a way that has a context so that when people encounter it, they understand its place in history.
Right.
And so that education is clear.
Absolutely, man. But yeah, I'm glad that America is making moves in the right direction. Like I said, I was really happy to, I was really happy to see that we're moving forward with the marriage equality thing. Though at first, and I have to be honest, at first I said to myself, you know, well, why does the gay community need the government to validate their relationship? That was my thought at first. I mean, 51% of American marriages are failing as of 2014. And that's over half of American marriages are failing. Why do you want this?
Right.
Why do you want that?
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, you've been with who you want to be with.
Right.
You know, nobody's stopping you from cohabitating, from loving anybody you want to love, from being with people that you want to be with.
Right.
You know, I mean, is really checking the marriage box on the W-2 form that important?
Right.
So that you can get a tax break.
Yeah, well, and a tax break is an important thing to get equally. And I hear you, and I think the big thing that got it for me, because I was always like, yeah, I think anybody should be able to do anything. I'm just that kind of person. But I do whatever you want. I don't care. You know, whatever makes you happy. You know, no guarantee of tomorrow. So as long as you're not hurting anybody, I don't care.
Right on.
And so... You know, but the thing that really sold it for me, and I was like, this is why it has to happen on just as, you know, an objective person who's not involved as an ally. I feel like it's, you know, you hear stories about, like, equal rights over, like, they can't adopt kids or they can't, they can't make medical decisions if their partner is, sick.
Right.
And can't make medical decisions for themselves.
Right.
Issues over wills. These legal matters that are given to married couples that the government requires you to go through that marriage process, whether you want or believe in it or not.
Right.
You have to be married to be given certain rights that legally come along with married people.
And you know,
so even if you don't believe in the union, the government believes in the union, and the government will suspend certain rights from your partnership if you don't file the paperwork that they require and get the license. So with people like losing their kids and not being in the room when somebody dies and like that, that's a ridiculous thing to keep from somebody.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So that was my big one.
Right, and I also heard my grandfather say, God rest his soul, you know, he was like, you know, Jacobi, everything ain't fair. It rains on the just and the unjust. You know, and a lot of times shit ain't gonna be fair, and that's the breaks, and you gotta deal with it. Everybody ain't gonna get what they want. And what's gonna happen, you know, to this country we live in is that we're gonna keep trying to give everybody what they want till we collapse. You know, and that was, you know, he's old school. I mean, he grew up as a whole different era. So his opinion is you know, was supported by what he had gone through and what he had seen, the cultural climate that he came up in. Yeah. You know, and to sit around and hear my family talk about it and to hear, you know, their opinions and, you know, for my grandfather to say, you know, like, you know, there's a group of people out there. There's always going to be a disenfranchised group. Yeah. There's always going to be one. Whether it's the blacks, whether it's the gays, whether it's the Hispanics, whether it's even the ex-cons.
Right.
Because they stopped letting prisoners get degrees in jail. They can't do that anymore. I mean, the prison industrial complex. Oh my God.
That's a long conversation.
That's a long conversation. That, along with the fact that when they get out of here, they can't vote. Right. They can't work.
There's no rehabilitation
involved. But we have already said, I mean, we're talking about men who've done federal time. Not, not county jail for 6 months.
Right.
But fed time.
Yeah.
Guys who went to jail for double murder.
Right.
In '89, they get out in 2009, or they on good behavior, or they,
My uncle's
they get
still in.
Right, or you know what I mean, whatever the crime was.
Before I was born.
Right. And they get out.
Yeah.
And then they have nothing. They don't exist.
Right. And it's crazy to me because we shut down what used to be, basically, they called them nut houses. Just like these psychiatric wards these asylums where people were shipped off to just live in a box until they died because they were too crazy to be in the group. And we shut that down because that was inhumane and there was no rehabilitation involved.
Wow.
And we're still doing the same shit.
We're still doing it.
It's the same thing.
We got guys on 23-hour lockdown.
We ship them away, someone gets in their face and, pushes them in the lunchroom. Both of them get put in a hole for days in the dark, alone.
Shitting in a hole.
It's like
having food slid to them under us. Yeah.
This is not a step forward in solving this problem. We outlawed this before, and now we're doing the same thing and calling it by another name. Because
America's judgment of other people reigns over the treatment of your fellow man.
Right.
That's why we don't have a problem. Because you think to yourself, man, they threw him in a hole, in a dark room, and they kept him in there for 5 days, and they slid a plate of food. If it falls off the plate, whatever, you got to eat it off the floor. Under the door, you had to shit in a hole.
Probably cold because it was the last one they brought out because they served everybody else first.
Exactly. But then you hear that man raped and murdered an 8-year-old girl. And you find yourself going, well, fuck him. He deserves that. See, America, we haven't come to a place of forgiveness.
Right.
Everybody's talking about love. Oh, love wins. No, because love is conditional. Because love is based on the contingency that you can accept that person for whoever. It's about forgiveness.
Right.
That's what America needs to find.
Yeah.
It ain't love.
Right.
Because you can love all your friends, but wait till you can love anybody. Just wait till they disagree with you.
Right.
Or wait till they do something you don't like.
Right. As soon as their behavior doesn't fall in with the social contract.
Boom.
You're out.
You don't love them anymore.
You can't be in the club.
You can't be. Yeah, we don't love you anymore.
Yeah.
Because do you love that man that broke into that 70-year-old woman's house and beat her to death with a lamp?
Right.
And then her daughter came home, caught him in the act, and he shot the daughter twice. And then robbed them, stole their car. Was on the lam from the police for about 6 months. Then they finally caught up with him, and then they get him into a prison and they treat him bad. Now you're that's inhumane. You can't do that to him. But what about what he did? See, that's what I'm saying. America's judgment, we can't find, ain't about love. It's about forgiveness.
Yeah.
America got to find forgiveness, and
because
then
we don't want to fix
equality.
Anybody. We decided it's broken.
There you go.
Right.
There you go. We're not gonna ever find true acceptance or tolerance until we have learned to forgive each other.
I think that's a good place to end it.
Yeah.
Thanks for talking to me, man.
Right, no doubt, man.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Rob. Thank you for having me, brother.
So I've been reading about nameless things. Don't ask me what they are.